Hello and welcome to another video from the only channel you need to not only survive the current apocalypse but actually enjoy it. And today's video is going to be about my food storage system. Now I am not doing another food storage system video like my last one because there's no reason to do the same thing over again. However, something recently happened to change my food storage system and to make me aware of something that I actually was already aware of, but you get to see part of the process. My well went out about 3 months ago. Oh, actually, it had to be more than that. And we had to spend $1,200 we didn't have on repairing our well. Now, it's not that big of a deal because I have $1,000 worth of overdraft protection, which means I can write $1,000 worth of bad checks and there isn't any penalty for me. But it doesn't mean I like being $1,000 in debt. I like to stay above zero. So anyway, when the next month's check came in, we had money in the bank for about a week, because it takes about a week from a water bill, phone bill, electric bill, all that stuff to come in, and that pretty much wiped me out again. So a week into my check, I was at zero, had 3 weeks to go. The way we got out of this was to simply stop going to town. We didn't buy groceries, didn't buy liquor, didn't go out to eat, which we rarely do any of that kind of stuff anyway. But it took us about 3 months of not purchasing groceries to get above zero again. And so you get to see what my food storage system looks like after 3 months of not purchasing groceries. Now I'm standing out here by the tent, and the reason for that is just I like doing stuff by my tent. But a point that I wanted to make while I'm out here is that you do not store food in your tent. I don't live in this tent, I sleep in this tent. If I were to store any food in here, so much as a slice of bread, a squirrel would eat right through that nylon in about a minute. Because I've got a house with screens all the way around it, and my screens are aluminum. And yet, squirrels have eaten through my aluminum screens to get into my house because they can smell food. So don't ever have food in your tent. Well, let's go on in the house and take a look at what my food storage system looks like after 3 months of not purchasing groceries. So right now we're just going to give you a basic look at my food storage system as it exists right now. Remember, it's been 3 months since I've been able to do anything with this. This is the main area where we keep our food. It's our dining room, and I've got these cabinets on the wall. You've probably seen them in my previous videos. And I had those specifically made because I like to keep a lot of food around, and I've always kept them full. Now I'm going to show you my groceries I just bought. This is part of it. But anyway, it's actually, I've got so much junk I've brought home that a lot of it's just shoved away in corners all around the house. But we'll get all of this straightened out and placed into these cabinets, and we'll do a video of my food storage system when it looks the way it's supposed to look. At this point you may be wondering, if I haven't been to the grocery store in 3 months, why do my cabinets still seem so full? We've got a lot of food sources other than just the grocery store, and they're not necessarily food sources that will be here after a collapse. So in some kind of catastrophic event, after 3 months, our food storage may look much worse than it did in this video. But this year's been very fruitful here. We got plenty of figs. We've started getting peaches. It looks like we may have a whole bunch of persimmons and at least enough pears for ourselves. But a lot of that stuff, when you get too much, everybody says, well, you should can it. That's a lot of work. A better solution is simply to take it and give it to other people who like it. And figs are kind of a hard thing to get, because they're not good in the commercial industry. They get too soft, they get damaged in shipping, so you can't really get figs at the grocery store under normal circumstances. So I was able to make trades, and I didn't actually go in and say, what will you give me for this? I just gave freely to everybody, and a lot of them gave freely back. That's just the way it works. Another place where there's a lot of free giving is the U.S. Department of Agriculture's food banks. My wife and I qualify for supplemental food based on our income. And so once a month we go to the food bank and we pick up a box of groceries, just some basic staples, and we usually drop off a box of fresh chicken eggs. So that's another source of food. And another thing is that happened is I made a determined effort that since I knew I wasn't going to be buying groceries for an extended period of time, I was going to take the opportunity to clean out my refrigerator and freezer, and we actually succeeded in that. Mostly ate everything we owned that required refrigeration. But as soon as that happened, my mom calls and said she cleaned out all of her refrigerators and freezers, and she had a lot of food over there that was out of date, and did I want it for my chickens? Well, my mom really checks dates, and if it's out of date, she throws it away. Well, I don't check the date, I check the food. Food looked good, and most of it did. It went in my fridge. Me and my wife have been eating it. The stuff that didn't look good, my chickens are eating it. And during the same period of time, a friend of mine lost her refrigerator, just went out. And so we went and picked all of her groceries up. And a lot of that really, honestly, did look too bad to eat because it had already thawed out by the time we got there. Stuff was dripping out of it. But we were able to salvage some items that were unopened. So that's why there's so much food on my shelves, is because we've got other sources of food coming in. But in a catastrophic situation where people don't have food or don't have petroleum, economic collapse, those sources, many of those sources may not be there, but my food storage system will be there, and hopefully my trees will be producing enough fruits at that time that I really don't even need the food storage. All right, first things first, before we start pulling all the old stuff out of the cabinets, we're going to write the dates on our new stuff. And it's sufficient just to put the actual month and year. You don't really need to have the day on there, because you're not going to be updating your food storage system on a daily or even weekly basis. If you're what's called a prepper, you're probably going to be going to the store less than the average person. And less than the average person means maybe once a month is a big run. You may go in between to get items that you're short of, but in general you're not going to be in the store as much as a regular good citizen that believes that the world is always going to be exactly the same as the day he was born, and you can depend on America to keep your food supply going. Now, items that are in boxes are kind of a neat thing. That's one of the reasons I really like shopping at Sam's, is you can buy cases of stuff. And when you buy cases of stuff, you don't have to put any dates on them. The simple way that works, you put the stuff that's in a box, you put it on the bottom, you put all of the cans that are out of the box on top, because you know the ones that are out of the box are your oldest. And when you use up all the stuff that's on top, you go to Sam's, get another case, put the case on the bottom, take all of the cans out of the previous case, and it kind of dates itself. It's not really important to know what date the stuff came in, because if you've got this for a week or you've got it for 20 years, you're going to still open it and see if it's good. You're not just going to throw it away when it goes past its due date. At least I don't. And it's pretty easy to tell. When you open a can, well, if you go to open a can and it looks like it's full of air and it's squishy, and then you open it and the ingredients in there don't look like the right color, and they will turn gray, then you know that it's time to throw that away. And by throw it away, I mean throw it out there to your chickens or put it in your compost pile. And I'll tell you something else. I have opened cans of food that were obviously gray and mushy, and just as an experiment, I cooked them and ate them, because cooking kills just about every germ that exists, and it was horrible, but it didn't make me sick. And as a follow-up to that, I opened a can that was gray once that I was supposed to cook, and I just ate it raw just to see if it would make me sick, and guess what? It made me feel like vomiting, but it was mostly because it tasted so terrible. But I really didn't have any adverse health effects from it. So just think of food as food. Some food's better than others, but sometimes even the worst food is okay when that's all you got is the worst food. All right, now that I'm done, we can take a step back and admire the results of all my hard work. And it really isn't hard work. Hard work is something you don't like doing. I get a sense of joy out of restocking my food storage system because it brings me comfort. It gives me a sense of security, although it is probably a false sense of security. I feel much better with my groceries here all around me than I do with my groceries 3 miles away in a store. And we'll go ahead and take a look at the bottom shelves as well. Now, the last time I did one of these, I walked through and pointed out what each cabinet held and why it was there. Basically, all you really need to know is that when you're doing a food storage project and you have limited funds, your food storage better be stuff you eat, and you better eat it. And you know, it's actually cheaper to do this than it is to go to the store whenever you need something. You know, I don't have to go to the store for another 3 months if I don't want to. Now, I will point out this cabinet here. This is a really inexpensive way to have a lot of food because it's bulk items. We got a bucket full of flour, bucket full of rice, bucket full of beans, and a bucket full of pasta, and you could actually just live on that because it is calories. There's even popcorn in there. Over on the far left side, you'll see the my water storage. The water bottles in the front are standard style water bottles like you purchase at Walmart. The problem with those is that after you use them for a while, keep refilling them, they start leaking and it makes a mess. I'm now using the bottles from Sam's that they sell cranberry juice in, ocean spray cranberry. And we drink enough cranberry juice that, you know, it's just lagniappe. That's what we call extra. It's extra to have that bottle. When you get done with the bottle, you don't throw it away, you clean it out and use it for water. And they're a lot more durable. The only problem being that I get my water from my mom's house because she has a very deep well. The water tastes a lot better, a lot less sulfur and iron in it. And these bottles, when they are left in the car empty, the tops blow off. But the cranberry juice bottles, when they're left in the car empty and it's a hot day, well, what happens is they just kind of blow out and the bottom becomes round and they won't stand up on their own anymore. And there's no way to fix that. You pretty much just got to throw them away. But that's what that is. That's all our liquids. That's our bulk goods. And over in the far end is oddball stuff like mayonnaise and Parmesan cheese and breadcrumbs and canned milk and oil. Now, I'm not going to go through and point out every single item I have because that always seems to cause problems. I live in poverty, and I think most of my subscribers live in poverty, and yet a lot of my subscribers will point out everything in here that's not good for my health. When you live in poverty, you can't eat everything healthy. You can try to be as healthy as possible, you know, eat fresh fruits and vegetables at every opportunity, but that stuff is really expensive. And I'm speaking from experience. I decided 1 month that I was going to eat nothing but fresh fruits and vegetables for the whole month. Well, I spent my entire month's income on fresh fruits and vegetables. And about 2 weeks into it, I had to go back to eating this because I had eaten my entire month's income in a couple of weeks. So, you know, this isn't about whatever you see in here. I don't need you to point out the processed sugars or the GMO corns or the artificial sweeteners or any of that kind of stuff because I already know. I'm sustenance and covering, you know, I'm pretty smart. What I'm showing you right now is the results of going through all of those cans because what I'm doing is I'm putting things on the shelf, I'm making sure everything's fronted up so that all the old stuff is in the right where you can see it and the new stuff is in the back. And as I'm going through there, I'm noticing the dates on things. And like this is spinach, 7/13, that's 2 years old. So we really need to use this up quick. And we'll hopefully get rid of that during the course of the next 30 days. You might think it's not a big deal, but this is just one can. My shelf will hold 6 of these. And as I was making my list, I went to write down that we were 1 short. But I didn't get it because I saw the date. We apparently do not eat as much spinach as we thought. So over the course of the next 30 days, we will eat all of the spinach on there and not put that up there again. We get frozen spinach. We like that better. So this is not an item we normally eat. It's not going to be part of our food storage system anymore. Another thing, here's one that had no date on it, but the can is getting rusty on the outside. That doesn't really bother me at all. This is going to be good food in a couple of days. All of this has to be done away with in the next 30 days because it's the oldest. It won't fit on my regular shelf and I don't like clutter. So the things that do not fit in their proper space just get turned into food. And it's not like any of this is going bad. It's just that for my food storage system to be effective, it's got to be organized. It's not organized when it's sitting on my table. This is like our coffee center or our liquids center. You got down here we've got our coffee and powdered creamer, sugar, artificial sweetener, and behind that is some apple cider packets, which are basically just some sugar and some flavoring. And up here is where we stockpile the empty calories that keep us going. I guess two of each of those canisters at the top, 2 coffees at the bottom, 2 of the vanilla soy milkshakes. And normally we have 2 boxes of that Lipton tea up there, but we're a little behind on that one. Alright, now this is our storage area underneath the stairs, and this is basically where we put our overflow dry goods. So that middle cabinet in the other room that had the rice and pasta and beans and things of that nature, whatever we have extra that's won't fit in the buckets under there goes in here. So normally if you buy a 50-pound sack of something, it's going to take 2 of these buckets to hold all of that, because on average 25 pounds of anything loose, whether it's macaroni or beans, will fill one of these buckets. Some items are sold in amounts of 25 pounds or 30 pounds, and so you just deal with it however you have to deal with it. But I feel comfortable, the things that I normally eat, like rice and beans, is just to have 2 buckets, one under the cabinet and one in here. So I've always got 50 pounds of all of my staples. Okay, hopefully what you got out of this video is that I have not changed. I didn't really put in a whole lot more information than I put in my first food storage system videos 4 or 5 years ago, whenever I did those. But I do want to make a statement about that. When I first started doing this, I really marketed myself as a prepper because that whole term was new to me. And it was exciting. It was great to find out that there were other people like me that stockpiled food and toilet paper and water and petroleum and things like that. But even within the prepper community, I am really an outsider, because most of these preppers have in their head that America is being led to some kind of imminent collapse, and they want to be ready to wait out this collapse period so they can help to restore America to the great beneficent bastion of freedom that it once was. That's not me at all. I really am putting aside stuff because I know that America's going to collapse and it ain't ever coming back, and good riddance. I can't remember a time when I did not believe in surrounding myself with the necessities of life. But I can remember a time when I realized that it was extremely important to do so. I joined the military at the age of 18, and the reason I did that is because I had 18 years of propaganda pushing me towards that goal. I had seen every war movie ever made. I understood that America was the only thing that stood between freedom and total global slavery. But the reality didn't match what I saw in all those movies. When I got in the military, basically what I got to see was the U.S. military going to one nation after another, slaughtering all the poor people, taking all of their material resources, their possessions, and then forcing them into the British banking system so that they would, in fact, become slaves. Now, that's a pretty big lie. The people that told me those lies are the same people that tell me that our food supply system is unbreakable, that we can depend on America to completely take care of all of our needs for all of eternity. That's not going to happen. You fooled me once, that's shame on you. You fooled me more than once, well, every time after the first time, that's my fault. And I'm not going to be the one to blame when I ain't got no food. I'm doing what I can. May not be enough, but hopefully you'll do what you can too, and if you don't want to survive, don't listen to me.